watching the monkey.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Art of Being with the Act Matrix podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kevin Polk. There's another one, the guy over there.
Bill Tenalia.
He's another host, and we have a special guest today.
Yes, we do.
Oh, there it is. It says Krystyna Kidson from Down Under.
Hello, everyone.
All right.
Always great when we get our international stuff going. And she's basically going to talk to us about the Act Matrix, looking at climate change.
Yeah.
So I'll let Krystyna tell you about herself and
Right.
what she does, and we'll get in and how she frames up this climate change stuff with the Act Matrix. So there we go. And while you're talking,
All right.
mics.
So take it away, Krystyna.
Take it away.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. So yes, good morning to you, wherever you are listening at the moment. At the moment, it is 9 a.m. in a very smoky Sydney in Australia, as you can tell from my accent. Now, gentlemen, I do tend to speak a little fast sometimes, so if I start doing that, just pull me up and let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fine so far.
good. So yeah, I'm Krystyna Kidson. I run my own practice as a psychologist coach here in Sydney, and I focus on helping not-for-profit, social enterprise, faith sector managers and leaders deal with the stress and overwhelm of their roles. But I do it through coaching and training rather than through therapy. Yeah, I'm about making the world a different place through transforming people's lives and working with people who want to transform lives. And
Wow.
I think this is where the Matrix is a really good fit.
Yeah.
Because I remember Kevin, you saying on a YouTube video quite some time ago that you wanted to create a tool that could change the world.
I did.
Yeah.
I
did.
do
I said
think,
that.
yeah, you said that. And I do think that the Matrix has the potential to do that if enough of us get on board and get used to using it.
Yeah, that's why Phil and I have been on videos for 4 hours
You
today.
discovered our stealth move, Krystyna.
No, we're not very stealthy though.
No, you're not.
We just keep slapping. We just keep slapping it out there.
Yes, that's right. That's our grand plan.
Yeah, do a bunch of
Oh
stuff.
dear.
Yeah.
I just allocated the world then, didn't
Loving
I?
the transforming stuff, Krystyna. I'm loving it.
Yeah, we're into transforming stuff. We just, but yeah, we put stuff out there, including. Oh, and this is lovely that you do this work. That is way cool. How do you do it?
That's a big question. Do you want to focus that a little bit for me?
Sure. Where do you start inside the
Yeah,
matrix?
where do you begin?
So think of the
right.
matrix,
Yeah.
Senses, mind, toward, away, who's important, all that stuff. Where do you
Sure.
start?
Well, I love starting people off at the idea of, grappling with who is important to you.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, think about it. Imagine them in your mind's eye.
Yeah.
They're the people you love and the people you serve, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So, what does it look like when you're trying to move towards the people who matter to you? Who are the people that come up for you?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be family, friends. In my context, God comes up a lot because I work probably about 80% of my clients are Christians in Christian ministry.
Yep.
Spirituality, very important.
Yep.
Spirituality, that desire to connect with something or someone bigger than ourselves,
Mhm.
to make a difference, to leave the world a better place than how we found it.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that stuff comes up.
Yeah.
So you
then,
start
of
there.
course, So I start there.
Okay.
And then it's just like, okay, so do we always perfectly move towards those people 100% of the time? Of course we don't. Stuff comes up, gets in the way, obstacles. There's the external stuff, like time and resources, and then there's the internal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that you just call it the yucky stuff. It just, it's just, when I'm drawing it up on a whiteboard for people, I'm drawing up this little spiky monster.
Oh, yeah.
Spiky, yeah,
the-
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the prickle that gets stuck in your shoe, or that
The gum
just
on the
that
bottom
feeling.
of your shoe, like that kind of
you
stuff.
want to get rid of it, right? Yep.
Yeah, and you don't like it. So it's like what's some of that stuff that comes up for you, and it's usually going to be stuff around fear, stuff around ego, pride. In my field, it's stress. It's chronic stress. It's it's threat,
Oh,
it's conflict, it's tiredness, it's fatigue, it's pain, all that stuff. Sleeplessness, sleep deprivation comes up. I have a chronic illness myself. I have adrenal fatigue, so I get this part of it very much. And then, of course, we know that we don't like feeling this stuff. No one likes feeling this stuff, so we try and move away from it. So we look for ways to just survive the moment, to get relief from that stuff. So we'll withdraw, we'll shut down, we'll act out in some way, we'll try and push it away or pretend it's not there.
yes.
Yes.
Been there and done that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, very, very, very much so.
Yeah. So what are your...
You got me thinking about, because you started off with climate change.
Yeah.
And so now I wonder, does anybody do that when they hear the term climate change show
Two
up?
words.
So up in your senses,
Absolutely.
the sound climate change comes in, gets into your mind, and then what shows up?
Yep. Exactly.
I mean, and whoever you are is what shows up. I mean, it shows up. But if yucky stuff showed up, then you might well do an away move. Want
exactly.
to get rid of that cold, prickly thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I'm working with people, I always take them through the matrix just that first time, just getting themselves centered in themselves.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Recognize
So they got the away moves, and then you go on over. You got the toward moves.
Exactly. So you can move towards the people that you love and you serve by reaching out to them, talking to them, spending time with them. You look after yourself in the middle of all of this by going for a walk, making sure you eat breakfast, trying to go to bed and get 7 hours sleep a night, all that kind of stuff.
Whoa, man, you're ambitious.
Yeah, really. At 7, wow.
Yeah, 7. I got 6 last night and I'm feeling it. But yeah, so it's about building that resilience.
Yeah.
That way that we can look towards ourselves and each other and look to care for ourselves and each other. So then we start opening up that conversation about climate and climate change.
Okay, here we go. All right.
Yeah, and so this is I am only just starting to move into exploring how we could use the matrix around climate change. I'm still really in the thinking stage.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you want to do this in your community, please do. Please try it and tell us what you notice.
Yeah, right.
Because when climate change has become this massive trigger word, hasn't it?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like when you think about the headlines across your feeds every day, what are some of the words that come up?
Other than climate change?
Yeah.
You mean like fires and hurricanes and
floods?
Floods.
Yep.
Well, floods are good. Smoke. You mentioned smoke. Well, of course, temperature, melting. Ice caps are melting.
Yeah.
If you ask me, a whole bunch of scary stuff, but that's just my opinion.
That'll be me too.
Yeah.
So, but one scary
stuff.
Yeah,
so that's all the yucky stuff comes up inside, isn't it? And there is so much that can come up. We get fed this stuff through, we have been fed this stuff through media and through movies.
Oh yeah.
For decades now.
Oh yeah.
I will put my hand up and say that one of my favorite movies is The Day After Tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
The Dennis Quaid, Jack Gyllenhaal one. My goodness, I love that movie.
Yep.
And that was actually my introduction to the idea of how melting fresh water changes the way the ocean reacts and therefore the way it carries temperature around.
Yep.
And that process of, you know, the ocean currents moving and salinity changing the way, and the density and the way, you know, the hotter surface water is lighter than the heavier, colder water, and so that's how it creates movement.
Yep.
And this is one of the reasons why Australia is currently in drought. We have these two, you know, we live between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific.
Yeah.
And in the Indian Ocean right now, we have we've got basically what's called a dipole. So all the warm water is over near Africa, and all the cool water is closer to Australia. And so we are not getting the warm water rising into the air to then be pulled across our continent as rain.
Right. There's no moisture for rain.
Yeah, exactly. And so
dry.
And so
well, see, and now you get into the other problem that's complicated.
Yeah.
And what do people do when they hear complicated show up?
Yep.
Which she just showed us an away move.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. I'll remember. You're listening. I do love suggestions.
That's fine. Yeah.
Oh no, that's what we're here for. No, that's not a problem.
Yep. Thank you.
Now, people on YouTube, because these are posted on YouTube, they could see her hand go before her eyes there. What she did was show us an example of shutting down. Just the blank stare that people give when they
throw their hands up and just walk away, and
right. They say it's just too complicated for me to comprehend. I'll let somebody else worry about it.
Right.
So that process goes on a lot.
Yeah, it's scary. It's threatening. We don't like it. So our mind makes us go, "Oh, let's protect you. Bounce off. Do something else. Think about something else."
Yeah. Exactly. Go get a drink or watch movies or something.
Exactly.
And there you go. So we're describing a basic thing. You've also talked about the media, media. And we get a lot of it these days that come in through our five senses. And you get a lot of messages if you have a smartphone and computer, or even television. And so you get a whole lot of messages, and every single one of those messages goes into your mind and results in some kind of feeling. Whether you're aware of it or not, it results in some feeling. And you either want to chase that feeling, get more of it, do a toward move, or you want to get away from that feeling, get rid of it. It seems to me like the climate change stuff results in people getting afraid, and then they do away moves. They shut down. So I think good-meaning people that are publishing all kinds of articles and putting out all kinds of headlines about how bad climate change is, and they're well-meaning. They really, really are. I am not for a second saying they're not. However, the problem is, as a result, is yucky feelings show up inside of people, and those tend to motivate people to avoid.
Yeah.
Rather than stand up and go, oh, gee, it's time for me to go do something about climate change. I need to do something. That's not where the usual human heads for. They usually head for protection, and if nothing else, just shut down, just don't listen anymore, or deny it, deny that it's there or whatever, but still scary stuff. So now, how to fix that? That's Krystyna. That's what she's on the podcast for. Right. She's going to tell us how to fix that. She bit on that. No, you're not.
I'm not afraid of this question.
Oh, good.
Because this is the tool that can help us do it.
Yeah.
What is? Oh, the matrix. Oh, okay. Well, that is true.
I think the profound strength of the matrix is that it helps us just notice. Mm-hmm. It helps us to notice our experience. It helps us to notice what matters to us. And so it helps us, it gives us a pathway to just process. Yeah. Process, when it comes to, you guys who have clicked on this podcast, and you guys who picked up my idea. Let me just tell you guys about how this actual podcast came about. I was in our Act Matrix group on Facebook, and I had the idea of like, hey, who's using the Matrix to help have effective conversations and actually help people with climate change, the climate change debate.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Kevin, I think maybe it was Phil, jumped on and said, hey, do you want to go on the podcast for this? I went,
yeah.
okay, sure.
I think it was Kevin, and then I said, yes, come on. I think we did a 1-2 to you.
Well, we're always looking for podcast guests.
You walked right into our trap.
Yeah, we'd have started the recording right away if we could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but the fact is, we can stop and we can notice what matters.
Yeah.
And we can notice our reactions, and we can notice what our reactions help us do. And we can notice whether or not our reactions actually work.
Right.
And what are they working for?
Right.
What do we want them to work for?
That's it.
So we can look at our environment. We can look at ourselves in our environment and go, yeah, okay, so this idea of climate, it makes me feel scared. It makes me feel threatened. My expectations of the future, my expectations for my children.
Yeah.
That's scary. Oh yeah, and I'm feeling scared, and I don't like feeling scared. So I'm gonna do stuff to make that go away. I'm gonna go off and watch Netflix. I'm gonna go off and watch my favorite movie, which is The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just put it off. I'm going to just give a bit of lip service to the idea of climate change. I might go on to social media and put in a couple of helpful comments on a few people that I follow.
Mm-hmm.
And then what?
Yeah.
Does it go away?
And
does
then what?
does that sense of threat go away?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it goes away for a little bit,
Yep.
but it doesn't stay away. So then we can get stuck in that cycle, the stuck loop of fear and threat and avoid and fear and threat and disavow. Go, oh, maybe it's not quite as bad as they're saying.
Yeah, let's minimize
it. Or it's not going to really affect me all that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get really caught in that self.
Those are inside your head away loops,
Yeah.
right?
Inside your head. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
stuck inside your head and inside your own experience. And what humans are really good at that. We spend about 50% of the time stuck in our heads, rather than noticing what's going on in the world around us.
Now, folks, just to slow down on that a bit, think about your own life and think of it in terms of the matrix of the five senses and then of the mind. And think of when you were a baby. Did you spend most of the time in your mind? No, because you didn't have words. So as babies, we're sensory beings to stay alive.
Exactly.
But then we develop language, which allows us to start thinking and feeling and having all kinds of cool daydreams inside of our heads. And pretty soon we make the shift over, and we're living a lot of our lives inside our heads. And oftentimes to our detriment, because you're certainly not in contact with what's really going on around you when you're living in your head.
Exactly.
That's the problem. And then you won't learn from experience. I'm just summing up how this plays out. And what do I mean by that? Well, that means you would be trying to ride a bike while totally in your head and not paying attention to anything. And you'd just never get off the ground. You'd fall over. You just wouldn't get into the experience of learning. And so that's what we're trying to do, get people out of their head and into their learning. So back to it. I just don't want to miss this. You're saying that one way of dealing with climate change is have people simply notice their reactions to news about climate change.
Yeah.
That would be something to do.
Yeah, it would be something to do.
I wonder what would happen. We got like 6 billion people all to notice.
Yes.
That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting. What would change?
I don't know. That's the thing is we don't know, but it would at least be a whole bunch of people noticing.
You would have to go ahead and run that and see what happens, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
And
We might all realize that, ooh, we're all in this together. We might.
Well, the thing is that lots of things need to happen.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have a lot of people doing little things and electing people and, changing government policies and all kinds of different things that must happen. But that's overwhelming.
Yeah.
For any one person to take on. I mean, the little girl from somewhere, Sweden, is it?
Sweden.
Oh, you're right.
oh,
Yeah, Greta.
Greta something. That's nice. It's nice what she's doing, but still, many of us, including myself. I mean, and I'll be first to admit, sometimes I hear about it and I just drift off and go do something else. I mean, I hear about climate change and I just drift off and go do something
Overwhelming
else.
shows up.
It just overwhelms me, right?
yeah.
It just does. So none of the podcast listeners think that any of the three of us are any different than anybody else.
We're all swimming in the same soup here.
Right. We sort of do the oh my, lions and tigers and bears, or thing, and we book it, and then of course then we get busy with our lives and we don't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we can get a whole bunch of people noticing. So that your message is noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah, my message is noticing. It's really easy to hear the words and go into all of those mind stories that the mind tries and tells us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can notice that that's just what we're doing, okay, we're one step ahead. And if we can then go from those mind stories and go, okay, so when I think this, when I'm experiencing this, then I want to do these things out in the real world. How much is that helping the real world?
Right.
So can I actually notice my reactions and then pivot? Can I do this almost a 180 from doing nothing to doing something?
At least a little something, right?
Yeah. At least a little something. And even if it's only a tiny little something, it's still something.
Yeah.
Well, then we get back at 6 billion people did a little something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little something.
It would be something. It would be a bigger something. Right. So noticing and that is the trick, though, Krystyna, is because the human mind goes for something bigger than just noticing.
Yeah.
Yep.
It wants something more than just noticing.
More, right.
Yeah. So we can move that. So basically, when you're going to that kind of top half of the matrix above the line. So folks, if you've got a piece of paper in front of you and you've drawn out, basically it looks like a window. Right?
That's the second time we've had that reference today.
Yeah. How about that?
That's a weird
twice.
window twice. Yeah. Yes, It looks like a window. It has this cross in the middle.
I'm going to show the window.
Phil is holding up. Phil, for the visual folks, but for the listeners on iTunes or whatever, since it's at the top, mind at the bottom, line connecting those two, toward to the right, away to the left, line connecting those two, and that's it. And then you get nice 4 little panes of glass or quadrants or whatever you want to call them. And so then you can look at that. What would you want to have in mind if we want to go theoretically how this would work? And the noticing could work if you had something in mind that you might do for climate change.
Yeah.
That's what the right hand side is about. Hey, what's important to you? Hey, climate change is important to me. Great. Well, what's some little thing that you might do? Now you say something. Now when the climate news shows up and you get scared and you notice that you're afraid and you go, oh yeah, here I am. I'm about to go bury my head in the sand and avoid that. No, well, instead I could do that little thing that I thought of before, and boom, it's at the ready. Now you might do that thing. So that's sort of how this goes.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
And what you ends up showing up in that top right section of your window is going to depend on exactly what part of climate change you're focusing on.
Yeah.
Because if you're focusing on climate change and you, then it's going to be, your own kind of coping strategies.
It's going to look
Stop,
different. Yep.
stop doing the
Thank
big
you.
bonfire out back, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to change my own behavior.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to leave.
I'm going to practice stuff that I know actually helps me kind of just sit in the moment.
What's going to work for me?
Right.
Yeah.
And if, you hear about carbon footprints and stuff, so I could do a little something to reduce my own personal carbon footprint. Ta-da! There you go.
Right.
So whatever that is.
I could buy more local produce.
Well, right. You can buy local. You can ride your bike. You can walk. Whatever. There's lots of things.
Recycling, anything like that.
But then now a lot of people say that's nowhere near enough. True, but something, at least it's something. Of course, then you can go protest to the big carbon footprint people, see if you can get them to change their ways. But there you go. Maybe you could do that. Send them letters. I don't know, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
We're not trying. I at least am not trying to prescribe any particular behavior. It's just something that you would be cool with doing, and even if you had all of that planned out, I guarantee you stuff will show up, you will get afraid, and you'll do away moves and shut down.
Absolutely.
Right. And anybody
But then you'll notice.
And here's the trick. Notice yourself doing that. Right. And
notice yourself shutting down.
Notice yourself doing that.
Yep.
And
it's like even like tiny little things, like just using the language of possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I could do something rather than I should do something or I can't do something. It's just like, well, hang on, I could do something. What could I do?
Yeah.
Right. And
so I could connect with nature. I could go out and just sit and actually appreciate the trees around me.
Yeah.
I could appreciate the water on my doorstep.
Yep.
I could appreciate the blue sky when I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I can appreciate the birds and stuff flying around me and realize that we are all part of the same ecosystem.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate the ecosystem that supports me. It's just like we can notice where we are in a moment in time in one place, and then we can start broadening our attention.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can start broadening our awareness
Yep.
of the different systems and the different systems that we're part of.
Yep.
And noticing different aspects of that and being appreciative of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to hurt.
Yeah.
It's probably going to help.
Yeah.
Right. If you start noticing that. The song would say, take time to smell the roses. But, notice your connection. And you get messages about that lots, don't you? But you sit and after the message goes by, you forget about it and then look at your smartphone or whatever. And then you forget. So all of those little things where if you can get out and do that, any noticing, connect up with nature, send your Facebook meme thing about climate change. You see those show up. I mean, there's something. I mean, at least people are doing something. So we'll take it. It's easy to get cynical or whatever and say, or pessimistic, I should more say, well, that stuff's not going to work. Like, well, maybe not, but at least they're doing something, and maybe it'll lead to something. You never know. So at least they're toward moves, and they got the right intent, which is to help people out, help the earth out. I like, really, it's about save the earth. No, it's about save the humans.
Yeah.
Earth will probably still be here. It's just we'll all be gone.
Yes. The question is, just how much of a lifeless rock might it be?
Exactly.
Let's not have a lifeless rock, ladies and gentlemen. Let's aim for a bit higher than that.
Well, let's go for higher than that, right? So that's how you start. So so I love your message. Notice and get people into it. Well, it sounds a bit like when I did the thing, or more than one thing, with here in the United States, you may well know, we have gun control, the gun anti-gun versus the pro-gun people. That's a good way of saying
Yeah.
it. And I got them
Yeah.
all in the same room, and I asked them a really deep question. Who's important to you? And guess what? They all gave me the same answers. Right. And so you say, how do you start conversations with people like that? Well, ask them who's important to them and start there. Well, if you want to have a conversation about climate change, ask people who's important to you. Start there.
That's right.
That's a great place to start because then that it goes out from there. Everything gets reconnected back to who's important. So, and then finally you get them into, now you can notice when those news reports show up and you go, yuck. And then you book it. You do an away move and you bury your head. And you can notice yourself doing that.
Yeah.
Then it's okay to notice yourself doing that. So.
Yeah, it is. And there is such an enormous range of away moves that people can do. And we see them all come up in this conversation in the one room. We'll see the denial, we'll see the minimizing, and we'll see the procrastination, and we'll see the survival seeking, and we'll see the pleasure seeking.
Right.
Because these are all just different ways that people seek to move away from, to cope with all that yucky stuff that comes up. And it's okay to have every single one of those reactions, but then what are you going to do with them? Are they helping?
Well,
do they
hopefully
work?
we eventually do something.
Yeah.
Because we really need to.
Yeah.
And anybody listening, I suppose, that might be a climate change denier or something. Phil and I are a little bit, and Krystyna too, are probably a little bit on the science side of things.
Yeah,
like 98% of all the scientists say, we got a problem, folks. Yeah. Well, we're going to believe them because we don't think the scientists are out to any nefarious things. No. They're just being geeky scientists. I know quite a few of them, actually. They're just
it's not a conspiracy.
they're just reading data and going, well, the data don't look good, folks. And that's all. And so if you look at the data of rising, we just lived through the warmest decade in history of Earth, or at least that's what they think. So yeah, we're in trouble. We need to change things. We need to change quite a few things. But quickly, then it's, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. What do I do? What do I do? Krystyna, remember the words of Krystyna. Notice. Notice that overwhelm showing up within you.
Yeah, I like encouraging people to imagine themselves stepping into the center of the matrix. So Phil, draw me a circle in the middle of your diagram if you haven't already.
No, there it is. Here, I got noticing in the middle. I could take it out. You want me to take it out?
What do you want in the middle?
No. Leave it there.
Oh, noticing's good. Right. Okay.
Because what I encourage people to do, I encourage them to actually just step into the center of your experience.
There you go.
And notice what's important to you. Yeah. Notice the stuff that comes up. Notice how you move away from the yucky stuff. Notice how you could move towards the people who matter to you. Mm-hmm. And the context, the world that matters to you. And just notice that you're in the middle of all of these different things. And you're still you.
Yep.
And you have the ability to notice all these different sections and to choose where you're going to step.
Yep.
You can choose to step in, just notice that my family matters to me, my kids' future matters to me, my health matters to me, the health of people on the other side of the world matters to me.
Yeah.
And therefore, you can work it backwards. You can then step up into the top section and go, okay, so these are who matter. These are the people and the things that matter to me. How can I step out towards them just a tiny bit today?
Yep.
Who can I encourage? Who can I reach out to? How can I look after my own home better and use up, in my country, in my town, we're just about to hit stage 2 water restrictions, which means you can't use a hose on hard surface.
Yeah.
Amongst a whole bunch of other things. How can we conserve water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In our regions, we have farmers on the edge. We have a mental health crisis going on in our country because of the drought.
Yeah.
So how can we support them?
Mm-hmm.
There was a Facebook group that was launched to support women in the bush, mostly women, who do crafts and stuff. And so there is a group that is full of more than 100,000 people all in there to sell the stuff that they make while they're on their farms, and therefore, put a cash injection into their local economies for them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
It's like there is so much stuff we can do.
Yeah.
If we're able to just get free of the inner yucky stuff mind loops
Step in the
and just
middle.
look at our world and go,
middle.
okay,
Step into
who's
the middle.
here? How can I reach them?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's
That's
great.
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Very thoughtful. So
Yeah.
we'll put that out. What is going to be the title of this?
You get the title, it, Krystyna. What
Oh,
would
I
you
get the
title this podcast?
You do. Once I find my sticky note.
I have not thought of a cool title for it.
Well, it's something to do with climate change.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
We're gonna help you out there.
We're going to put
Climate change conversation. There you go.
All right, climate change conversations. Yeah. And
Or how to have a climate change conversation.
There you go. Step into the middle of the climate change conversation, right?
How to have a climate change conversation.
Love it.
That's a good title because people wonder about that.
Yeah. How do I even
The
begin?
same way, well, how do I have a conversation with somebody about guns?
Yeah. Anything that's controversial.
Anything controversial, well, this is climate change. How do we have a conversation? Yeah. That's cool. That's a very nice way of doing it. So everybody on, you just heard Krystyna title this podcast.
Yeah.
And that, and actually, if you're listening to this, you already know that because you clicked on it.
Yeah.
And if you're here, you've listened all the way to the end. We're very impressed.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
That's way cool. And sign up for certification.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Krystyna is a certification student.
Yes.
So what you're hearing is, believe me, she's certified.
Yeah.
Very good person. With and that's what we look for is people that know how to talk their way around this with other folks and put it out there into the world, and that's really cool. So don't go anywhere. I'm just going to turn off the recording. So for all our people in our listening audience, bye-bye.
Have those conversations.
We'll still be here.
Good luck. Reach out for me. I'd love to hear what you do.
All right.
Yes. No.